りょう、
なんだ、シェンファ。
今ハッカソンですごく流行ってる遊びがあるんだけど、やってみない？
遊び？
ええ、顔じゃんけんっていうの。
顔じゃんけん？ああ、やろう。顔じゃんけん。
じゃん
けん。グー。
パー。私の勝ち。りょう、それにしてもひどい顔。どうする？もう一度やる？
Oh, how I have waited for this game. Man, I had to look it up, but it has been 17 years since Shenmue II came out, which means I've been waiting 17 years to see the continuation of that cliffhanger ending from the second game. Either way, Shenmue III just came out, and I've been playing it on stream, which is a good opportunity to let you guys know I do stream most days over on twitch.tv/RosalindGaming, so feel free to come over and hang out. I will leave a link in the description below. But as for Shenmue 3, I can't really give a full review on it yet because, like I said, it just came out the other day, and while I have been playing it on stream both days, I'm nowhere near close to finishing it. In fact, I think I'm still in like the first area, honestly, despite playing for almost 10 hours. But I just want to go ahead and get my thoughts out there on it, maybe let some people know who are maybe on the fence about buying it, if maybe it's something they are interested in picking up. So graphically, the game, how to put it, it definitely looks better than Shenmue 1 and 2, like way better, and that's to be expected. Shenmue 1 was a Dreamcast game. The original release of Shenmue 2 was also a Dreamcast game, but it was released in the West on the original Xbox. And you know, when you compare to those, it looks fantastic. Unfortunately, by today's standards, it also looks like a PlayStation 3 game. Now, I should preface this a little bit. I'm probably going to be talking about a lot of negative things about this game, but do keep in mind that despite all the negatives I have, the negative feelings that I have about this game, I am really enjoying my time with it. So it's really weird because I'm having fun with it, I'm really enjoying it, I keep wanting to play it, but I have a lot of issues with it at the same time. So getting back to graphics, like I said, they look good. Everything's vibrant, a lot of very colorful, but I do notice quite a bit of like reused models. The one that jumped out to me the quickest was like on doors. It's kind of a really nitpicky thing, but I did notice that like every single door I've seen, at least in the first town, has had the exact same model. Maybe the coloring has changed on it, but the model has been the exact same. It's just a little bit strange. The other one that's probably going to jump out to a lot of people is the character animations. And the character models to a lesser extent. Some of the models definitely seem a little bit subpar, especially for what you would expect from a PlayStation 4 game. But the animation is where it gets really, I don't know, it's very rigid. I guess it's the best way to explain it. It's not bad. It's definitely not deal-breaking or anything, but it certainly jumps out. This rigidness, though, that you see in the graphics also does translate into the dialogue. And it's at this point that I should probably preface one more thing, and that's that I have been playing the game in Japanese, or at least I've been using the Japanese audio for the game. So the rigidness I am experiencing with the audio may not actually translate to other languages. And the voice acting, at least in Japanese, is almost equally as rigid as the character models are. You'll have a lot of scenes where the main character will say a word, there'll be a pause, the next character will say something, there'll be a pause, the next character will say something, there'll be a pause. It's not what you would expect from a Japanese title where usually voice acting is recorded in one room. And what I mean by that is you'll have, you know, if there's a scene that's 4 characters, you'll have all 4 of the voice actors in that room acting out that scene right then and there. And it doesn't feel like that's what's taking place here. It's almost like it's a holdover from the first 2 games, like that's how it was, and the developers were like, for nostalgia's sake, let's go ahead and do this again. It doesn't really bother me, but it is kind of funny that it works like that. At least in the Japanese version of the dialogue, that is, where this really becomes apparent is when the main character, Ryo, and Shinfa are talking to each other. They're always starting like almost every single line with each other's names, which is not common in Japanese dialogue at all. It's really weird, but if it's something that bugs you, then I don't know. You may not be able to get through this game, but it's very janky, but it's also nostalgic at the same time. It's really weird to talk about, but that is one of the issues I have noticed about the game. Now, as for issues that may be actual, like, real deal breakers for people, even for fans of the series, and two things that are almost deal breakers for me. I've still been enjoying the game and putting up with them, but when I first encountered these two things, I was not very pleased, and I was considering stopping playing the game altogether at this point. And I'll go ahead and talk about the biggest one first, and that has to deal with the combat system. So if you were coming into this game and you were expecting to have the old Virtua Fighter combat system that you had in the original two Shenmue games, you're going to be sorely disappointed, as that is non-existent in this game. The combat system is very different. There's a dedicated block, but there's no dedicated dodge, and the way you input combos is very strange. So the X, square, triangle, and circle buttons on the controller do correlate to two kicks and 2 punches, and you can use these to do combos, but the primary way combos are executed in this game is through a almost like I don't want to say a macro system, but there's a 1-button system where you press 1 button, and then depending on whether or not you have the game on auto or manual, a combo will execute itself, and you will do a move representative of that combo. I'll use the example of spinning crane kick. The inputs for it are XX, square, square. So if you're playing on auto, whenever you hit R2, your character will automatically do that. They'll just use the ability. If you are playing on manual, you'll hit R2, and then you will get a little prompt will come up on screen. It'll quickly show you the button inputs, and then you have to input them immediately after that in order to execute the attack. That's how it works. If you want to switch to do other combos, you have to press the L1 and R1 buttons to switch between the different combos that you have in sort of a combo sheet. So in your menu, you can go in and you'll have the automatic combo sheet, which will have the first 3 combo attacks you get, followed by 2 more open slots, which will be filled by the second 2 you get. And then as far as I can tell, you can't edit that one. At least I'm not able to edit it where I'm at in the game. But then you get to the manual sheets, and I think there's like 3 or 4 different manual setups, and they have 5 open slots, and you can put in any combo you've mastered into there. And then you can switch between those in combat. Now, it is possible once you've mastered an ability to do it like you used to in the other game, so without pressing the R2 button, you can press, for instance, with spinning crane kick, you can do XX, square, square, and your character will do those, but that's not the traditional way of doing it in this game. Also, there's no dedicated throw, or at the very least, I haven't unlocked any way to throw a character. So 2 of my primary ways of attacking in the original game, throwing and then dodging to get in hits, I can't use. There is a little bit of a dodge mechanic in the game. You can move the joystick away from an attacker, and Ryo will do like a little jump back, but there's no dedicated dodge. Personally, I don't like the combat system this time around. It's just not enjoyable to do. It really more feels like that it's more of a, did you bring enough healing items, or do you have enough HP? And if you do, congratulations, you can win the fight. If you don't, you might want to go train up your skills. Speaking of which, you have a couple different parameters that you can increase. You have attack, you have endurance, and then you have a combination of the 2 which levels up with them called Kung Fu. And there are different places throughout the game where you can level these up. For instance, endurance, you can find little training dummies, and you can do little exercises at these training dummies, and successfully doing them will increase your character's endurance, which will subsequently increase your Kung Fu level. And then to increase your attack level, you have to actually spar with other people in the game, There'll be a dojo you can spar at. You'll also find other people throughout the first village, for example, who will gladly spar with you. And in the sparring session, you can't lose HP or anything like that. You take no damage, but you can focus on learning a specific skill that you haven't mastered. And skills take 11 levels to master. Generally, if you're doing a sparring session, that's like 3 to 4 sparring sessions, depending on how well you execute them. Then you'll have the skill mastered. Mastering a skill will increase your attack, and then that will subsequently increase your kung fu. The one thing I've learned from this is that if you do not have any skills to learn, you cannot increase your attack anymore, which means you need to go out and get skill books. Speaking of skill books, and I will get to the other deal breaker in a moment, but these are all kind of related to combat in a way. So, speaking of skill books, there are a number of ways to get them in the game, and it's generally through either purchasing them from vendors or turning in sets of items. So I found 4 that are from vendors. 2 of them are very cheap, 2 of them are extremely expensive, which I have not purchased yet. I purchased the 2 cheaper ones. They're from the first real vendor you come across in the game. He's also the first person who gives you your first job, which is wood chopping, and it's not very lucrative. There are better ways to make money, even at the beginning, but he sells 2. And then as for the ones for sets, you can get them for if you collect these sets out of the gachapon machines. There's different gachapon machines for different types of sets, and if you collect one of each item in that set, you can take it to the pawn shop and you can trade it in for a skill book. One of the other things that you can trade in for a skill book that is a set of herbs. So there's a new gathering mechanic in this game where you can gather herbs, and you can't actually use the herbs yourself, but you can trade them in for either a skill book, or you can trade in sets of them to the first vendor you come across, the one I mentioned, and he will give you pretty sizable chunks of money for the different sets. You'll find these free maps you can pick up around towns that are herb maps, and what they are is they're just kind of like a little hand-drawn map of the area with a little red dot on them, and you go to that red dot and you look around, you find the herb and you pick it, and congratulations, you have it. Now these herbs do respawn, but I'm not really too sure on the respawn rate. It seems really low on some of the herbs and a lot higher on some of them, so I'm assuming there's like a common and a rare aspect to them that determines like how long it takes for them to respawn, but it's a pretty good source of money. It's the best source of money that's not RNG related that I found, at least in the first area of the game. But getting these herbs, it's not too difficult. Basically what you gotta do is it's a little annoying actually. You have to open up your inventory, go to your key items, go over to the map and your key items, bring up the map, that little map as sort of like a bigger, like you're examining it, and then you look at where a red dot is on the map, and then you exit out of your inventory all the way back out, and you compare it with the little mini map that's in the lower left-hand portion of the screen, and you try to find it that way. So finally, moving on to the last thing that I really want to talk about, the thing that to me was almost the biggest deal breaker, even more so than the combat system. Because at least with the combat system, I can, if I really want to, I can just turn the game on easy, breeze my way through it, and just get the story and have fun with everything else about the game. But this one, you kind of have to deal with it no matter what, and it's the introduction of a new mechanic. It is a hunger mechanic, I guess. I'm not sure on the exact terminology they're using for it, but you have to eat things in this game. It wouldn't be that annoying if it wasn't for the fact that the gauge that it constantly depletes as you are losing hunger is also your HP gauge. Yeah. So as long as you're doing basically anything in the game, you can be walking, talking to people, picking herbs, training, jogging, you name it. Unless it is sitting in the menu system, you are constantly losing HP. And at a fairly rapid rate, I might add. The only time you aren't losing HP is if your HP gets into the yellow. You can see your HP gauge in the lower left-hand part of the screen. It's around the mini-map as little green orbs, much like the previous games. And when you get down to 3 orbs left, they will be yellow, and you will stop losing HP at a constant rate. However, if you try to run or jog, you will lose HP still. So at this point you might be thinking, well, okay then, I'll just let my HP get down to yellow and I just won't ever worry about it again. Because, I'll walk into a fight and I'll just be so good that I won't have to worry about taking damage, and being in yellow HP won't be that much of a handicap. And if you're good at the game, that would certainly be fine if it wasn't for the fact that the game will sit there and tell you, no, you don't have enough stamina for this, you need to go find some food. That's right, if your HP is too low, there are certain activities, even story-based missions where you have to get into a fight, where the game will flat out tell you, you don't have enough HP, you need to go get something to eat before it will let you do them. If for whatever reason you happen to be in a training session and your HP fell into the yellow while you were training and you were still continuing on to train, it will let you train in the situation. However, you will see significantly reduced gains from doing so. This whole forcing the player to eat food to keep their HP up that's constantly draining is made even more annoying by the fact that money is incredibly scarce, especially in the early stages of the game. It's also almost a slap in the face when you wake up every morning and you go into the kitchen and you see Shenmue in there making food, all these ingredients, and you can't take any of them to eat with you. Nope, you have to go to the store and buy garlic. Why garlic? Because it's the cheapest food that heals for the most. And that's going to be it for my early impressions of Shenmue 3. I know there's a lot of negatives, in fact, the majority of the video was basically negatives, but I am really enjoying my time with it, and I think one of the main reasons I am being so critical about the game is because it's something I've been looking forward to for 17 years. If you're a fan of the original two Shenmue games, I think you'll still like this one despite its flaws. You may not be able to, put up with the battle system, or the food and hunger mechanic might really annoy you, and that will be a deal breaker for some people, even for fans. But if you can put up with them, it's a good opportunity to get back into the world of Shenmue, hang out with Ryo, learn more about Shenmue, and just, figure out the continuation to this story that we've been waiting for so long for. I hope this video has been at least somewhat helpful and informative. I know there's probably some things I meant to include that I forgot and will remember later and wish I had put them into the video, but if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or you could come over to my Twitch channel and ask me there. I'll be happy to answer anything you want to know. Also, if you did find this video helpful, please do leave a like. It does help me out, and I hope to see you for the next one.
顔じゃんけん
じゃん
けんグー
チョキ
俺の勝ちだシェンファー
りょう勝ち逃げは許さない。さあもう一度やりましょう。